Alright. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic / non-classic. This episode number 2519 and Doubleshot number 2413. Well, with this one we have two finales. We are reviewing the final 15 issues of Ghost Rider Volume 2 and the last complete collection that collects issues from Wear It By Night Volume 1. First, let's start with issues 67 to 81 of Ghost Rider Volume 1. Now, I should point out, though, unlike the previous issues, which had one writer, these last 15 issues actually had two different writers on them. First, you have Jan Mathias, who did issues 61, 71, and 74 to 81. Yep, and who did the issues not done by him? Well, it's done by a guy, done by Roger Stern. Yep, Roger Stern filled in some issues. If you're curious, how many issues did he do for the series? Roger Stern, for Ghost Rider, did issues 68 to 70 and 72 to 73. Basically the issues that Jan Mathias didn't do. So, the first issue involves Johnny Blaze taking on some couple nobodies. But I found the issue a little more better than what Roger Stern did. And we have basically, well, Johnny Blaze and Ninja sort of be separated from Zorthos, kind of in a way. And of course, battling Satan, who turns out to be, well, I'll get to that. So, and also the Quentin Carnival plays a little more role. They're actually here for a remainder of this run. Yeah, basically in issue 69, there's something called the Earth Mover. And then in 70, takes on the Freak Master. Yeah, this normal guy who's in charge of freaks. And he has 3 appearances he makes in the course of this book. He appears in 70, 75, and 79. Yep. Then we have the first appearance of Adam Henderson. Yes, a character who would only appear for one issue. Yep. And you have Ghost Rider versus No the Living Darkness. A creature from Defenders. Which is kind of weird, the fact that he's a creature from Defenders. Yeah, he appears in the book. Yeah, this actually was an appearance he made between issues 103 and 111, the very book. Yeah, it's like, okay, let's fight this creature for one issue. Like, okay, interesting. And then 72. Oh, I should point out, though, they changed the logo with issue 72. Yeah, they changed the logo. Let me show off the artwork here, because in issue 72, the Ghost Rider takes on the Circus of Crime. You're thinking, wow, that sounds really cool. And can you believe Roger Stern wrote this issue? Yeah, here's the brand new logo. The final logo they would give this book throughout the remainder of this run. Yeah. Taking on the Circus of Crime. I'm like, that's really cool. And here's the thing. Princess Python is not here. Neither is the Ringmaster. No, but just Bruin the Strongman, Clown, Giant Gabonis, Human Cannibal, and Live Wire. They have a new character, Fire Eater, who appears in this book and a handful of other books. Like, after this book here, he appears also in the following issue as well. They say his first appearance in this issue, but he actually made appearance in his first appearance actually was in Marvel 2-1 number 76. Yeah, it's the way it seems like for this version. It seems like, okay, so Bruce Strongman, Clown, they were definitely there from the beginning. Giant Gabonis, I don't think he was there from. No, he was not there. He was not there from the very beginning. These guys joined in Amazing 16, which was the return of them. Yep. And then, like, the very next issue, still basically them, and This is operating without, of course, without that guy. And then we have the first appearance of a character who would be one of the final villains of this run. Centaurus, the man without a soul. Yes. A character who appears very frequently throughout the reading of this book. Yeah, he is a guy who wears a suit. He appears in, of the remaining, at this point in time, the remaining 8 issues, he appears in half of them. Yes, he appears in half of them. Yeah, he's introduced in 74. And where, like, old Adam and Tara basically are under threat by him. And then, like, the very next issue, we have Davey, a brand new character. A character who Johnny Blaze would fight in the 90s. Steel Wind. And can you believe she's a J. Matthias character? Yeah, Steel Wind. Like, wow, we have a really cool character. A beautiful woman who's also partially a cyborg. Yeah, that's her. You're thinking, damn, what a beautiful woman. And she is. But here's something quite interesting about her. She made a debut in 1982. But she would not return until... Well, actually, she would pop up again in issues 77 and 79. But after appearing for a handful of issues of Captain America, she returned to fight Johnny Blaze in the Spirits Adventures book. And she'd be a recurring character in that book, along with the Ghost Rider Volume 3. And then she returned in 2 of the 3 final issues of Ghost Rider Volume 7. So yeah, really cool character. I love this character. Yeah, they know she's partially a cyborg. Thanks to her arms being exposed. When she takes off her gloves, she's got cybernetic arms. Yeah, there's also Steel Vengeance. Yeah, a character who would pop up in Ghost Rider, the Spirits of Vengeance book. I would talk about in the future, don't worry about that. Now, Steel Wind a love interest of Ghost Rider? No, not really. And then we have a guy called Armadius. Yeah, a demon who actually popped up in issue 53. Who is a character created by Michael Fisher. Yep, who actually returns in these issues. Yep. He returned in 76. And then here's something interesting, though. He doesn't make his next appearance until Deadpool Team Up 892. Which, if you're curious, Ghost Rider was actually released in 1982. This was released in 2010. Yes, 2010. That was the next appearance of this character. Approximately about almost 30 years after his last appearance. And Mephisto is here. And then 77 has where they're fighting Zorthos. Yeah, because he's briefly separated from him for a few issues. Then you have Doctor Strange, I'm saying Dr. Druid here. And of course also we see supposedly the graves of Barton Blaze, Johnny Blaze's father and his mother. And then we see Crash Sam's the first time we've seen him since like the early issues. And then 79 rolls around, and then one of the most shocking things happen at the end of 79. Roxanne Sampson makes a return to the book. Yes, Roxanne Sampson is back. And her being here is a sign that the book is almost over. Because she is the woman who Johnny Blaze loves. This was the first time she appeared in this book since issue 30. Though she made an appearance in 68, but... yeah, she's here for the main of this book. Yep. And of course, basically, she shows up at the end of 79. And then 80, we have Return of Certos. And basically, throughout the last couple issues of the book, basically, Johnny Blaze quits working for the Quinton Carnival. And gets a Roxanne to be with on the moment because basically, this is the woman he loves. Which, strange enough, the way it's kind of written here is that Cynthia was one he was dating, and then that got dropped, and then he's with Roxanne now. And of course, these last couple of issues about Centauros, at one point, Johnny loses his soul, and then, of course, Zorthos briefly takes over the body, has it for a while, and then, thanks to some arranging this golden, this green orb that this has, Centauros gets trapped in there, and then Zorthos himself gets trapped in there, and Johnny Blaze is freed of being the Ghost Rider First time since his debut, he is out of the Ghost Rider form, and they walk off, and the series ends. This volume ends. We will not receive return of this book until 11 years later. Actually, more like 8 years later, when Dan Ketch takes over the title. I'll talk about him once it was Epic Collection, which I did check that out recently. But what happened to Johnny Blaze after this? Well, him and Roxanne pop up a couple of Defenders, and then they return in Ghost Rider Volume 3, which I'll talk about in the future. But what about Zorthos? Does he return? Yes, he does. He returns in Amazing Spider-Man during the Inferno tie-in, where he's basically demanding Spider-Man to kill the Kingpin of crime. Yes, seriously. That's what they do with Zorthos after this. Which is kind of weird. Centaurus himself, like, does he return after issue 81? Was final issue of this very book? Yes, he does. His next appearance is not until... It's not until an issue of Ghost Rider Volume 3, but I'll talk about that definitely in the future. Yep. But he's popped up sporadically since then. His most recent, his last no appearance to date was back in 2010 as part of the Hood's Criminal Army. Yes, seriously. Yeah, Bendis wrote his last no appearance, and that was back in 2010. 13 years ago. That was his last appearance. And his previous appearance before that was back in 1994. Yep. But yeah. Great book. Final thoughts on Ghost Rider Volume 2, because I finally finished this book. The book had a very odd start to it, where it felt like it was set in its own universe. And throughout the first year of the book, right after Son of Satan stuff got wrapped up, it seems as though the book had this problem where it couldn't establish regular villains. Like, oh, let's have Ghost Rider fight bikers, random thugs. Like, it felt as though basically the book didn't know what it wanted to do. At one point, they added Karen Page to the book for be a sort of a potential love interest for Johnny Blaze, but that went nowhere because she was in the book for at least about a year. Then she was dropped from the book. It felt as though Marvel didn't know what to do with Johnny Blaze's book. It's like, oh, he's wandering the earth. Okay. In some issues, he's participating in races, even though he's a stuntman. It felt as though this book basically, like, if you think about it, the guy who wrote this book the best, aside than my announcement, was Dan Matias. I felt as though his issues were really good, and it felt as though it felt like basically a regular book I would definitely read. Roger Stern stuff was still quite interesting, as definitely. I would say the last couple of years the book was quite interesting, but my guess is probably the reason why the book got canceled. My guess the book was still a good seller for Marvel at that point in time. So my guess is the reason why, there's probably two reasons why the book got canceled. Number one, this is the most probable reason, low sales. It probably wasn't, if the sales were slipping at this point in time. Yeah, or that they probably want to take Johnny Blaze different direction. They probably want to take Ghost Rider on the rest because he's basically been writing the Earth for like a decade. So, yeah. There's nothing really wrong with this one per se. If you're curious about Johnny Blaze's early adventures, check this book out. If you're a fan of the 90s Ghost Rider stuff, I would check this book out mainly because in 75 we had the debut of Steel Wind. A character who would basically become a primary foe for Johnny Blaze in the 90s. Who, if you think about it, aside from Centaurus, he's like one of the very few recurring foes in this entire book. And occasionally the problem I have in this book, he occasionally had outside help. And it seems like a lot of the time, Johnny Blaze just operates in the desert. Yes. Why the desert? I have no idea. But next up we have is Werewolf by Night, the Complete Collection, Volume 3. This book collects issues 31 to 43, along with these other books. Alright, it also collects Giant Size Werewolf number 5. Of course, also 31 to 43. It also collects Marvel Premiere 28, which is him teaming up with the Morbius, Man-Thing, and the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider as leads and monsters for one issue. They also have 3 issues of Spider-Woman, issues 6, 19, 32. And then they have Marvel Team Up 93, which was next appearance. And then Ghost Rider, which I've talked about this book already, Ghost Rider Volume 2, 55. Moon Knight, 29 and 30. And then finally cap it off with the backup story from Marvel Premiere 59, because they have a Doctor Who story in the opening story of this book. And then, of course, you have Jack Russell in the backup story of this one. Yep. Yeah, it's something though that I get the fact why it included the other stuff, because it'd be really sure if they just included just Giant Tales Werewolf number 5 and the last 13 issues, 14 issues, 13 issues of this book. So I get the reason why. It seems like the way chronologically has it, where Marvel Premiere 28 came next, and then the Spider-Woman issues, then Marvel Team Up. The Marvel Team Up issue is he teams up with Spider-Man to take on this guy called Denson Macabre. It's a woman. Yeah. Created by, interesting. A nude combatant. Interesting. Stephen Grant, Carmen Infantino. She, of course, appeared in the following issue of the book, but she's been recurring. Her most recent appearance actually was in Spirit of Spider-Man Volume 2. Yep, but we have Tena Medillion, who next appeared in Ghost Rider, with Wear Up by Night. And, of course, appearance in here with the Committee. Yeah, we also get appearance by the Shroud. Yes, the Shroud. The writers of this book are Doug Moak, who writes all the Wear Up by Night issues, Levantil, Marv Wolfman, Stephen Grant, Michael Fisher, who I think writes the Ghost Rider issue, Don Perlin, Mark Greenwald, art by Don Perlin, Young Mantelo, Frank Rubens, Carmen Infantino, Steve Lithuna, Bill Sienkiewicz, Tom Sutton, and Will Multmer. Doug also writes the Wear Up by Night. He also writes the Moon Knight issues. Who wrote the Marvel Premiere issue? That was done by Bill Manslow. He wrote that. Yeah, this was the first appearance of the original Wear Up of this book. Now, Wear Up by Night last appeared in... chronologically, the book is set between 33 and 34, but they put the book in here as a... why not? Yeah. But if you're really curious, what was his next appearance right after this book wrapped up? It wasn't Spider-Woman, number 6, which was discussed already. But in the case of these issues, mostly put in Giant Size Werewolf number 5, which came between 31 and 32. It's mostly put Jack Russell on these Biptesians. These giant people. Basically, it's him versus a group of aliens. Yep. Now, I've already discussed issues 31, of course, Death in Light. This one is mostly put just him in, like, this winter area. 32, 33, not going to discuss issues because that's the Moon Knight issues. 34, it is, well, just in the House of Evil. In 37, Moon Knight makes an appearance in this book as a hallucination along with the Hangman and Dr. Glitter Knight. Yeah, it turns out it was all done by Lark Marcia. This was his last appearance in the book. He made his first appearance in issue 34, and he just gets killed off here. And in 38, mostly put, is just him staying with Dr. Drum. Dr. Voodoo, excuse me. Yeah, he basically is with them throughout the end of this book. And then, of course, in 42 and 43, teams with Iron Man. But at the end of the book, he basically learns to talk when he's in wolf form. In 29 and 30 of Moon Knight, which I kind of discussed already, but I'll bring up here, those two issues are noteworthy for having Jack Russell mutate into more of a wolf-like appearance. An appearance he's had still to this present day whenever he transforms into the Wear Up by Night. Yeah, it's Legion Monster stuff, which, really cool concept. which is them versus a creature known as the Star Seed, who's only in this one issue. It's like, okay, let's bring up these four monsters. They got this alien. And here's the thing. Morbius was the only one who didn't have an ongoing series. He was in the series. He was actually, this actually was in between book, between Vampire Tales number 11 and his appearance in Marvel 2 and 15. I think, Vampire Tales, I think it was his last issue of this book. So they already wrapped up Vampire Tales, but in this book, and they appear in Marvel 2 and 1. Man-Thing, of course, if you're really curious, he last appeared in Giant Size Man-Thing 5, next appeared in Iron Man 3. Ghost Rider, of course, his appearance in this book was in between issues 12 and 17. And Werewolf by Night would next appear in issue 34 of his own book. Really cool, the fact they did this. Yes. And something on the end with the Marvel Premiere book, which is the backup story anyways. But yeah, final thoughts on this run. It's a really good run for Werewolf by Night. I would recommend people check it out because if you're really curious about early Darkhold stuff and stuff, if you're curious about Werewolf by Night because of the Black and White movie, which I've heard some people say it's been accused of being just being a Alyssa Bless movie, even though the movie was called Werewolf by Night, which I don't get why some people say that, even though that it's this character's movie, they say, oh yeah, it's really this character. That's the second movie I've actually heard being accused of that. The first one was actually Black Widow, even clearly was Natasha Romanoff. So, oh yeah, it was really just a Lamb movie. I'm like, did we watch the same movie? That's Natasha's movie. She's the Black Widow in the movie because Natasha's dead. It's like, people who say that apparently just, like, here's the thing. Did we watch the same movie? Now, I haven't seen the Werewolf by Night movie yet, so I don't have an opinion about that movie yet. I have heard they're going to release that in color, which I think is quite cool. I like the fact that they did release in black and white. I haven't seen it yet, but I don't have much opinion. I do like the concept of reading black and white, but the problem I've heard black and white nowadays, some kids do not like black and white because they think black and white is boring. I'm like, really? In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with black and white at all. Like, here's the thing. I watched Ultra Q, and that wasn't black and white. Well, actually, it was in color. I watched Twilight Zone black and white. Yeah, the original one. I've never had a problem with black and white at all. Never. Not at all. It just basically thought some more back then. And some people like it, some people don't like it. Fine. But don't say it's boring. Yes. I'm gonna give Werewolf by Night the Complete Collection, Volume 3, a 10 out of 10. The Ghost Rider issues, I give those a 9. Because some of them are good. I say these issues are the best ones in my opinion, these last 15 issues. Because these felt very interesting, memorable. Yep. But yeah, that's a particular view. Next up will be Bokenger, but I'm going to have to go for a bit and be back and work on those 4 episodes of Bokenger, work on the next Comic Corner, and then work on Jujutsu Kaisen. Okay, next video. Bye.